Welcome to CHINTARO Training Session 5. In this session, we'll be having a look at property maintenance, and we will cover inventory items and tradespeople, and we'll also have a look at how to create, complete, and customize a work order. We'll then have a look at the CHINTARO system maintenance, and we'll show you how to make the system work for you. Some of you may not be system administrators or may not have permission to do this, but we will run through some of these things anyway. We'll finish with reports and exports and how to get information out of CHINTARO once you've entered information in. So today we're going to start with tradespeople. The reason that we're going to start with tradespeople is because we are going to move into property maintenance, but before we go in and start allocating maintenance tasks to people, we need to have our tradespeople in CHINTARO. So there are a couple of ways to get into the tradesperson's screen. There is a shortcut up the top here that takes us directly to the tradespeople's screen. And we can see that we have a number of tradespeople in here. If we go back into the home screen and then into property maintenance, we also have an option for tradespeople in here. This will take us to the same tradespeople's screen. So these are the two ways to get into the same screen. You can see that we have 8 tradespeople here, and these are the people that we will allocate our maintenance tasks to. So every time that we create a maintenance task, or a work order as it's commonly called, we need to allocate that to a tradesperson to fix the problem that we are addressing. We'll have a look at men at work, and from this search screen we can see their address, trades type, and they are plumbers and gas fitters, contact name, phone number, and other information. When we double click on their record, it brings up the tradesperson's screen. So we have the general information on the left-hand side. We have the trading name, and this is what the business is called. The trade type is the type of trade that they perform. And most trades are in this drop-down list here. All of these drop-down lists are customizable to suit your organisation, and this list will most likely be similar to the one that you have, but you can add or remove any categorizations as you would like. Next, we have their address and the supplier ID. The supplier ID is a field where you can enter the unique supplier ID that your organisation uses to group suppliers. We can allocate a region to the supplier if we would like, and the region for men at work is in the West. This can be useful to see where certain tradespeople work, and we have said that men at work will only work in the west of Victoria. We can see we've entered the ABN for men at work in here. We have a contact name here for Colin. We have his mobile number and landline, and we have a fax number for him also. We have an email address for him, and this is important because these days work orders are generally sent via email, and we will need to have an email address in this field to do this. So this is why it says default email in here. If you are emailing work orders to tradespeople, this is the address that they will go to. You may have another person you deal with in this company, so we can enter their details in here also. We have a contact to name as Jerry. We have his mobile number, landline number, and his fax number in here also. We have Men at Work's BSB and account number here. And below this, we can see that their preferred method of payment is via EFT. The BPay biller code is where we can enter a BPay code if the tradesperson has one. KPM maintenance type is for those organisations that are involved with the KPM program, and if you are, you can select the maintenance type from this drop-down list for the KPM report. Here we have selected agency contracted. Template name we'll come back to, but this is where you would put the specific work order template if the tradesperson has their own format for the work orders. But we'll have a look at this once we've had a look at work order templates. We can have related links for the tradesperson, and we have a web page in here. If you have a folder or documents that you would like to add to this record, you can create a related link in here. At the top here, like other screens in CHINTARO, we have the ability to send an SMS, email, or word merge a tradesperson from this screen. If you have a valid mobile number, we can click SMS, and up pops the normal SMS screen. You can do the same thing for emails. Below these functions, we have the compliance section. This is where we can input the tradesperson's public liability number and expiry date, the builder's license number and expiry date, the workers' compensation number and expiry date, and the compliance number and expiry date. Below this, we have the maintenance task history for this tradesperson. This is a record of all the jobs that men at work have done for us over time, including the ones that are no longer active. Work orders are divided into active and inactive, and an active work order in CHINTARO means that this is an outstanding job. It's a job that needs to be done. If it's inactive, it means the job has been completed. We will have a look at this soon, but from this screen we can see that we have 4 inactive tasks that have been completed and 1 active task that still needs our attention. We could filter this list to show only active tasks by clicking on the black arrow in the active column and selecting Is Selected. If we wanted to see only inactive or completed tasks, we would click the black arrow and select Is Not Selected. To remove this filter, we click the black arrow and click Select All. At the bottom of this screen, we can see the Notes section, and these are the notes that we've made against the tradesperson. So let's enter in a new tradesperson now. We're going to enter in our new tradesperson, and this will be our new painters, and their name is Matte Finish. So we go back to the previous tradespeople search screen and click on Add Tradesperson. We put Matte Finish in the trading name, and the trade type will be painters. The address is 1 Mancini Drive, and that's in Richmond. The supplier ID that we enter is our own number, and this will be PAI 10214. And Matte Finish are going to cover the eastern region of Melbourne. Next, we put the ABN in here. And the contact name is Matt Moffat. We put his contact number in here. And his email address in here. We don't have a second contact name or phone number, so we'll leave these blank. We'll put his BSB and account number in here. And he has said that his preferred payment method is via EFT. He doesn't have a BPay biller code, so we leave this blank. And in the KPM maintenance type, we will select Agency Contracted. Template name we'll leave for the moment. And we will add a related link in here for his website, www.chintaro.com. www.mattefinish.com.au. In the comments, we'll put preferred painter because he will be the preferred painter that we will select from our tradespeople. We don't have Matt's compliance details yet, and this is something that we will need to get from him once we've set him up. So this is all we need to do for the moment to enter Matt Finish into our system. Now when we go back to the tradesperson search screen and click Show All, Matt Finish is in our list here. So here we have the tradespeople that will do our jobs, and we will now look at how we create jobs. Before we start creating work orders, maintenance tasks, jobs, or however we refer to them, we need to have a look at our property inventory again. We briefly looked at inventory items when we looked at properties, but now we're going to have a look at it in a bit more detail because inventory is tied up with property maintenance. Whenever you create a maintenance task or work order, you have to allocate it to an inventory item. To view our inventory items, we go into the property screen and we will have a look at our property named Swan 338. In this property screen, at the top here, we have the function for inventory. If we click this button, the middle of the screen changes to show all of our inventory items at a particular property. So inventory items are all of the items that we want to keep track of in the property. Some organisations do this in detail and they will keep lists of all of their white goods, electrical fittings and furniture, and others will not go to that length and just have one inventory item called General. We're going to go through how inventory items actually work for those of you who do want to use the inventory function. You can see here that we have two inventory items, one General and one Gutter Clean, which we'll look at later. But for now, we're going to add an inventory item and go through each field. To add a new inventory item in this list, we click on Add Inventory Item here. So we're going to add a hot water service. We enter this information in because when we create a work order for this item, these fields will be the same and these fields will default with the information that we enter. So the item name is going to be a Ream hot water service. And the serial number we've got from the service, and we put that in here. The item location is going to be on the exterior wall. And the item type is a hot water service gas. The item group is the larger group that the hot water service belongs to, and in this case, it's a hot water service. These lists may not be the same in your version, but you can customize them to make them however you would like your groupings. Item type is the thing that it is, and the item group is the group that it belongs to. You might have a washing machine where the item type is washing machine, and the item group might be white goods. Trade type is the type of trade that will repair the inventory item when something goes wrong. So the trade type for the hot water service will be plumbers and gas fitters. Maintenance type for the hot water service will usually be responsive, and we'll talk about responsive maintenance in just a minute. The works type is going to be hot water service. And the tradesperson that we are going to use for the maintenance on this item will be men at work, because they're our preferred plumbers and gas fitters. If we didn't have a preferred plumber or gas fitter, we would leave this blank and choose who we wanted to allocate to that job at the time we create the work order. So we put the make in here, and we will put the Stella 5-star premium gas, and the model number is HWS1245. The capacity is 200 litres, and the supplier was the Good Guys. So this tells us information about where we got the hot water service. Then we can put the warranty expiry date, which is 5 years from today, and that's the 20th of the 7th, 2020. Maintenance cycle and first maintenance we'll talk about later, and we'll continue with the purchase date, which is today, the 20th of the 7th, 2015. And the purchase price is $1,200. Replacement date is when the warranty expires, and that was on the 20th of the 7th, 2020. And the replacement cost will be around $1,500. We don't have to put all of this information in when we create an inventory item, but we can, and if we do, it can be quite useful. We can run an export that shows what we have outstanding, when our replacement dates are, how much we expect our replacement cost to be, and when those things are coming up. So you might want to enter these details in. We can also put specific instructions in these fields, and these fields will again make more sense when we have a look at a work order. To the right of these details, we have the maintenance schedule. On inventory items where there has been maintenance done on that item, we'll see the maintenance task list in here. This is a new item, so we don't have any maintenance tasks yet, and there are none in here. Below this, we have the related links section where we can add any related links to the inventory item, such as the website where you bought the item, or a scan of the warranty details and receipt, so you can keep these documents on file. The related links section works in exactly the same way as the other screens, so we'll leave this for now. So let's go and have a look at how to create a work order to fix inventory items. So we'll pretend that this hot water service is now broken and we need someone to come and fix it. Before we do this, we'll talk about the 3 types of maintenance in CHINTARO. The first and most common type of maintenance is responsive maintenance, and this is where something breaks and we need to get it fixed. Someone will go out and fix the item, and the tradesperson will send us a bill and we will pay it. We also have cyclical maintenance, and these are the things that have to happen on a regular basis, such as safety checks, fire inspections or gutter cleaning, things that happen regularly and need maintenance on a cyclical basis at predetermined intervals, such as every 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, etc. So you can set these up to be automatic in CHINTARO. There is also forecast maintenance, and this is long-term planning for your future maintenance requirements. So when you're thinking in 5 years' time we'll be doing some kitchen upgrades, this is going to cost us $12,000 for each upgrade. We can put this in CHINTARO and have a look at how much money you are spending over a period of time. We're not going to cover forecast maintenance today. It will be covered in the e-learning videos, but we will cover responsive maintenance and cyclical maintenance in this session. So on our home screen, down the bottom here, we can see on the control panel that we have a section for incomplete maintenance tasks. We have 5 cyclical tasks, 6 responsive maintenance tasks, and a number of site inspections. We can see that we have 6 responsive maintenance tasks that are outstanding. If we click on this, we go straight to the property maintenance schedule for only responsive maintenance tasks. If we go back to the home screen, we can see a quick link up here for maintenance. If we click on that, we go straight to the maintenance schedule for all maintenance tasks. And if we go back to the home screen again, and we click on property maintenance in the menu on the left here, then click on Manage Property Maintenance. We get the same screen as before, which shows all of the property maintenance tasks listed. So if we want to go straight to the responsive maintenance tasks, back on the home screen, clicking here is the quickest way to take you straight to the Outstanding Responsive Maintenance Tasks screen. So there is a filter that's applied on this screen, and if we click on the black funnel icon on the maintenance type column, we can see that only the responsive box is ticked, meaning this will only show us responsive maintenance tasks. If we double click on one of these responsive maintenance tasks, we see a very busy screen with a lot of information. We're going to go through this now, field by field. The best way to do this is to begin with creating a maintenance task. So we can add a maintenance task quickly by clicking on the Add Maintenance Task quick link up here. And this will take us to an empty maintenance task screen. The reason we will be entering in all of this information is that when we send this work order to a tradesperson, they will have all of the details of the request of what the job is. The information on the left-hand side here and the instruction box here is all of the information about what we need to do to get the job done. Notice that all of the fields on here are greyed out, and this is because we will need to select a property before we enter these details. So we select the property at Swan 338. And once we've selected the property, you'll notice a couple of things have happened here. All of the fields have gone white and become active, meaning we can now fill them in. Before we selected the property, they were disabled. We can view the property details here if we click on the Property Details button. We can only view these details and we can't edit them from here. If we click Exit, we can also see here that the inventory item has automatically defaulted to General. This is because I have enabled a parameter through System Maintenance and Preferences that tells the inventory item to default to General. This is because many users of CHINTARO only use General as an inventory item, and in each of their properties they just have the one general inventory item. Any work order that they create, they will allocate to General, and they will put what the information of the item is in the instructions. We're not going to do it this way. We're going to allocate the inventory item to the hot water service at Swan 338. So we will drop the list down, and we'll see that there's a hot water service that we just added. When we click this, notice that these fields have come through from when we added the inventory item before. So this will save us a bit of work having to pick these things from the list if we put them into default on the inventory item screen. So we entered in the maintenance type, location, the item type, the item group, the works type, and the trade type, and we also entered in the tradesperson details. So now all of these things are entered for us and we don't have to go through and pick them. We can also see below the tradesperson details that the email has come through from the tradesperson screen, and if we click on tradesperson details, we can see the tradesperson details pop up on our screen, but we can't edit any of this information from here. Just like the property details button, we can only view the details from this pop-up. The next thing we come to is email CC, and this is where we can add the email address of anyone that you would like to CC in the email for the work order. This may be someone that you send it to for approval or anybody else that you want to add. Next, we select the urgency for the maintenance required, and all maintenance is urgent, but some maintenance is more urgent than others. If we drop down this list, we see that we have 3 levels of urgency: priority, standard, and urgent. So let's select the level of urgency for the work order to be urgent. And when we go into the completion details function at the top here, we can see that the scheduled completion date has defaulted to tomorrow's date, the 21st, and this means it must be fixed by tomorrow. So urgent means we only have one day to fix this job. Let's select priority, and that now means that there is 7 days to fix the item. So 7 days after the reported date is now the 27th of the 7th, 2015. If we choose standard, this is now 14 days after the reported date, and this would make it the 3rd of the 8th, 2015. So this means that they have 2 weeks to fix this job. So depending on the way that your organisation controls the expected turnarounds or key performance indicators, or however you think of them, this field can be programmed by the urgent box. So we have 3 types of urgency in here: priority, standard, and urgent. And these are 7 days, 14 days, and 1 day. Like all drop-down lists in CHINTARO, these are customizable through system maintenance and reference tables. We'll talk about reference tables in more detail shortly, but I'm going to go in and show you the urgent category now. So from the home screen, we go into system maintenance and then reference tables. If we click on any entry and type U, we will be taken to the urgent types, and here we can see priority, standard, and urgent, and next to this we can see how many days they are. So if you wanted to add a 4th one or change the wording on any of these, you can do it in this form here. Let's say that we would like to add low priority. So we enter in low priority here, and we'll say that this is a 30-day turnaround for these jobs. Now, when we go back into the home screen and into our responsive maintenance tasks, we select the hot water service at Swan 338. And if we now change the priority to a low priority and go into the completion details screen, we can see that this date is now 30 days after the reported date. So if you want to change these, you can do this very easily. So let's make this an urgent priority. The next field is created by, and this says SA because I am logged in as a system administrator. We can see down here that this record was last updated by SA, and when you create a work order, these 2 sections will have your details in them. You can change this if you are doing this work for someone else, and let's say that I'm doing this for Bruce. We can type over this field here with the name you would like to enter. The default will be what you're logged in as. The housing worker will be the property manager of this property, and we can see here that Bernie Rhodes is the manager of Swan 338. We have his details here because when we go to print or email this work order, he will be the logical contact in our organisation because he looks after this property. But again, we can type the name of someone else in here if you wish to have someone else's contact details there. The next thing we come to is a tick box that asks if we have the tenant's permission to get the job done. When we tick this box, the work order will default to say that the tenant has given permission to do the job. If we leave the box unticked, it will say that the tenant has not given permission to do this job. There is another tick box here for tenants' damage, and if we tick this box, we can track which jobs are being caused by the damage that the tenant has caused, and this might be something that we want to track over time to see which tenants are causing damage in which properties, and also what the tenant damage is costing us. We can see in the next field that the tenant's name and phone number has defaulted to Eddie Vedder. The reason we have the tenant's name and phone number on the work order is that when it's printed, it will say contact the tenant directly to organise the visit. This might not be the case in your organisation. It really depends on the nature of your business, so you can change the work order to say please contact the housing worker or the office, but if you need to use the tenant's name and phone, you can fill these in here. If you would like to change the tenant that this is defaulted to, you can click the Copy to Tenant Details button here. And here we have all the tenants that live at Swan 338. This is a multi-select box, so this means if we click on more than one name, these will go black, and we can select more than one contact for this work order. So we select the tenant that you would like to be as the contact, and let's say that we want both Eddie and Gillian to be the contacts. So we highlight their names from this list. If you have a rooming house and you have lots of tenants in a property, you can filter by a room number from this box, and this will show all of the rooms in one floor or a specific room if you choose this. Alternatively, we have a search box down here if you would like to type in the name of the tenant to filter the search. So when we click Update, the names have now changed to show both Eddie and Gillian. You are able to type the names in here, but by clicking Copy Tenant Details is a quicker way to do this. The next thing we come to here is tenant availability. If you're organising tradespeople to contact tenants, you might want to tell them when the tenant is available. You may not know, and in that case, leave this blank. But if you do want to specify something such as works Monday to Wednesday, other times suitable, or something like that, that lets a tradesperson know about the tenant's availability, you can enter that in here. In the middle of the screen, we have the instructions, and this is the most important field, as this is where we will say what the job is. In here, we will type, brand new hot water service is leaking intermittently. Pilot light keeps going out. So there are a few problems here, and this will tell the tradesperson what is happening and what they need to do to fix it. This can be as detailed as you would like, and in any of these larger fields, we click Control and Enter for a new line. So we'll enter a new line in saying, please check and fix ASAP. The next field we come to is Access Instructions, and these are instructions on accessing the property. So this might be something like access through the back gate, beware of the dog, or anything like this, and we will put in access to hot water service via the side gate. If we leave this blank, it will be assumed that there are no specific access instructions. The next field down is the tradesperson alert and instructions, and this is where we can add alerts or instructions for the tradespeople. You can see to the right of this we have the property alerts and the client alerts that have come through from the property and client records. The client alerts and property alerts will not show on the work order because we may have sensitive information in these alerts, but if there's something we need to tell the tradesperson about the client or the property, we can add these in the tradesperson alert and instructions. We can see here that Eddie and Gillian have a dangerous dog, and we would like to tell the tradesperson to beware of the dog. We would also like to tell the tradesperson to make sure they have 2 tradies when they visit the house, and that the property has asbestos. So we'll put those alerts in here. Above the alerts, we have some dates. We have a reported date, a scheduled date, and an actual start date. These have defaulted to today, and they won't always be today's date, but sometimes they will, and the system will default this way. So the reported date is the date that it was reported to you as a problem, and we'll leave this as today. The scheduled start date is where we can enter the date that we believe the maintenance would begin on the item, and we'll say tomorrow. So the date tomorrow is the 21st of the 7th. The actual start date will be filled in later when we know the date that the job started, so we'll leave this blank for now. Below this, we have an order number, and this is MDB 4014. This is our numbering system, and you don't have to have a prefix like MDB. You could just have a number, but you can set this ordering number in system maintenance. So this number is 4014. The next job that we create will be 4015, and so on. So this is our reference for the job. The number below this is the tradesperson or subcontractor's order number. This is where we can enter the tradesperson's order number if they have one, and this may apply if you're dealing with the government maintenance organisation who give you a reference number, and if so, you can put that number in here. Once we have entered in all of these fields, we have enough information to create the work order. The fields on the right here are for when the work has been finished, and we'll have a look at these in just a moment. When we're happy with the details we've entered in, we go to the bottom left of the screen to the Actions section. The first thing we see here is a button that says Send Work Order To, and we will be sending the work order to one of these three options over here. CHINTARO can do three things with this work order. It can open it as a Word document, which allows you to have a look at it, type anything else you want into it, save it, and print it. CHINTARO can also send the work order through as an email, and we have the default set to send as an email. If we have an email address here, we can send the work order directly to the tradesperson as an email. The next option is to print the work order. You can select to print if you would like to print and put the work order in someone's pigeonhole, or some tradespeople may only take work orders via fax, so we could print and fax it to them. If we were to click Send Work Order To, because we have selected email, it will send the work order via Outlook and we wouldn't see anything. It would go automatically. If we went into Outlook, we would see the email in our Sent folder. But we want to look at how the work order looks, so we will choose Word Document. Then click Send Work Order To, and a Microsoft Word document has opened up with the information that we entered. At the top, we see that this is addressed to Men at Work, and below this, we have the contact name as Colin and his phone number in there. So this is a maintenance request. Below this, we have the order number, MDB4014, and that was generated from our order number field. Below that, we have the request from, and this is Bernie Rhodes. The contact number is our office number, and we have the office address and date of request, 20th of the 7th, 2015 here. We have three blocks on the work order now. First, we have the property details where we can see the address of the property, along with the hot water type, stove type, heating type, and equipment type. The reason it's done this is because if we go back into our property, down here, we have set the hot water type as gas. So let's go back to where we were. We can get to our maintenance schedule from the property if we click on Maintenance. And here we see our maintenance tasks. So we double click on the one we were working on, and we are taken back to the maintenance task record. So back in our work order, the next box here is the access box. And this is where we see the access instructions for the tradesperson that we put on the work order. We can also see the way we would like our tradespeople to access is to please contact the following to obtain access before commencing work. The tenant's permission has been obtained. And this is because we tick the box here for tenant's permission. The tenants' names are here, and these are their numbers. So the tradesperson now has those details. They also have the availability that we entered, and they have the access instructions also. If you don't want to give specific access instructions, you can change this template. Works requested is where we put in the instructions for the tradesperson, and this says hot water service is leaking intermittently, pilot light keeps going out. So whatever we type in this section is what will be requested for the job. When we send an email requesting a work order, this is what the tradesperson will receive. It will look the same as this, and the subject of the email will be the property name. Back in our maintenance task screen, In the Action section here, we also have a box that says Quotation. If you want to get a quotation for a job before you get it fixed, you can tick this quotation box here, and this button changes to Send Quote Request to. We can then select to send the quotation to a new Word document, and we use a different template. It's pretty much the same, but this one says Request for Quote here, and it also says Please provide a written quote down the bottom here. So this is just a different template, and this will use the trade email quote ... And if we have a look in templates, we can see this one sitting under the trade email ... that we used before. If you don't have a quote document, they're easy to set up, or support will help you to set this up. In the Action section, we also have a field here for status. This is where we can select the status of where the job is at, and we have a few options set up here as a default: completed, created, and in progress. These don't have any workflow component to them. They don't do any flagging or alerting, but you can allocate a status to a job, and you can create exports to see the status of jobs. In this section, we also have an audit button, which will tell you who did what for the job. So this is how work orders are created. Now, let's say that you never want your tradespeople to contact your tenants directly. You always want the tradesperson to contact you, so you would like to change the wording of the work order. Instead of saying, please contact the following to obtain access before commencing work with the tenant's details, you would like the work order to say, please contact the tenancy manager before commencing work. So let's have a look and see how this works. When CHINTARO creates a work order, it goes and looks for a specific word template that has been set up in our Data Templates folder. The way that we know which one this is by this box here. Our templates are set up in our System Maintenance and Reference tables. From the home screen, we go into System Maintenance and Reference tables. From here, we go into Parameters, and we scroll down to get the maintenance template. We can see here that the template is called Trade Email ... So this is the template for the work order, and it must be in our Templates folder. So let's go and have a look at our Data Templates folder. So if I have a look in this list here, I should see a file that's called Trade Email ... and there it is. To open a template, you must right-click and open. And when we do this, we get a dialog box that we will say yes to. Now we can see here that our template has opened in edit mode. So now we want to change it to say, please contact the housing worker in here. There is a box for tenant's permission, and we can get rid of this because we don't want this in here anymore. And we'll also remove the tenant's name and availability. So we just want the tradesperson to contact the housing worker, and we can put a new field in by going into Mailings, click on Insert Merge Field, and select Housing Worker. We will also put in the contact phone 1 in here. So as you can see, we can change the text, put different fields in, and we could remove the MDB letterhead and put your own one in here. You can customize these to however you want them to be. To save, we just click Save. And back in CHINTARO, If we go to the home screen, into the responsive tasks, into the job that we're working on for the hot water service at Swan 338, and when we send the work order to a new Word document, up it pops, and now we can see it says please contact the housing worker in here, and we see the housing worker's contact information in here. Bernie's phone number hasn't come through, so we might want to look in CHINTARO and see if our phone numbers are up to date. So this is how we can easily change the work order to suit your organisation. We haven't gone into too much detail here regarding changing templates, but there is support for helping you set these templates up on the CHINTARO website. There is a tip sheet that runs you through how to set up these templates, and you can also find an hour-long video on the website that will show you how to set up the word mergers. If you need additional help, you can always contact support. So now we've got to the point where we've created the work order, sent it off, and Men at Work will complete the job, and once they are done, they'll send us an invoice. This might be the next time that we hear back from them, and we might know that they've completed the job because we've been on site with them, or they've called to advise that it's been completed. But however this process works in your organisation, we now want to record that the job has been completed. So once the job has been completed, we can enter in the completion details. To get to the completion details, we click on the completion details function at the top here. We talked earlier about how jobs can be active or inactive, active meaning they are open, and inactive meaning they are completed. Hidden away down here is the active tick box, and this is a box that you can manually tick or untick yourself, like any tick box in CHINTARO, but normally this is controlled by the actual completion date field in here. When we enter a date in here and click elsewhere on the screen, the active task box becomes unticked and this task becomes an inactive task. If we take the date away from the actual completion date and click elsewhere on the screen, the active box becomes ticked again and this goes back to being an active task. So this is tied to the date field for actual completion. If there is a date in here, the job will be inactive, and if there is no date in here, the job will be active. So we can put the date in again, and this job is no longer active. Next we have the invoice paid date. This will be the date that the invoice for the work was paid, and we'll put in today's date. The next date field here is one for tenants' confirmation. Some organisations want the tenants to confirm that the work has been completed to their satisfaction, and if this is the case, you can put the date that the tenant has confirmed the work in here. The next four fields we have here are not date fields, and the first one that we have is time spent in minutes. You won't need to use this if you have an external tradesperson doing the repairs on a property, but if you have an internal tradesperson who's responsible for your property maintenance and you want to track how much time is spent on jobs, you can enter the time spent in minutes here. The GL batch number is a field that is used to code the job to a particular general ledger account, which forms part of an extract to MYOB. Some organisations use this, and if you don't, just leave this blank. Often you'll have an invoice number and your finance department may take care of this for you, but not always. So if you're responsible for tracking this maintenance task, you'll put the invoice number in here. This will be the invoice number that you get from the tradespeople, and let's say this is 84125. Below this, we have a tick box to confirm that the work was completed to our satisfaction, and it was, so let's tick this box. Then we have a field for work completed. Often when you get an invoice from the tradesperson, they'll detail what they did in order to complete the task. And if so, you can enter that information here for the record. So let's say that men at work have said a leaking valve was found to be dripping on the pilot light and putting it out. Replaced valve. So here we can enter in the information that the tradesperson has given you, so you have a history of the job. The next thing we come to is costs. Some organisations like to put in an estimated cost of a job, so they might say, when we've had call-outs to fix hot water systems in the past, they've cost us around $250. So we can estimate this cost at the time we create the job. When we put that figure in here, we get the GST defaulting to $22.73. We can edit this in our system parameters. In Australia, this is 10%, and in New Zealand, it will be set to 15%. So we could enter the budget cost in here for the same amount, $250. And when you get your actual cost, we can enter that in here also. So this actually cost us $220, and the GST has defaulted to $20. Once we have entered in these details, the job is now complete. If we go back to our home screen, we can see that we have 6 responsive maintenance tasks. And if we double click here, we can see that the hot water system at Swan 338 is no longer there because it's now an inactive job. If we wanted to see all active and inactive jobs, we click the black funnel icon in the active column, select all, and here we can see the previous job. So the job is still in the system, and we can double click on the record to view the details. If we were to go into our tradesperson, we can see that we have the maintenance task in this section here, and this is listed as an inactive job because it is finished. If we go into the property, we can go into the maintenance function. We can see the job here. So we have a record of all of these things. If we go into the inventory function, we can look specifically at the hot water service, and we can see the maintenance schedule in this section to see all of the maintenance that has been done with the hot water system. So let's go back into that maintenance task that we were looking at. So now we'll have a look at a few more fields on this screen. Now our job has been completed and we want to cost this maintenance against the property. We go back to the completion details, and we can see here that we enter the actual cost as $220, and now we want to create a property transaction. There is a button in this section here for Create Property Transaction. We drop down this list to show the transaction types, and we will select Property Maintenance. Now, we can't enter a property transaction until we've paid the invoice, and we can see here that we paid the invoice today. The reason for this being we can't enter a transaction until we've paid for the service. So we click Create Property Transaction, and we can see that property transaction has been created. Many of you won't be using this because you might not be tracking costs against specific properties, but if you are, this is how you do it. If we wanted to add a note about the task on the property record, we would select the type of note that we wanted created, such as maintenance, and click Create Property Note. Now, when we go back into the property at Swan 338, we can see a new property transaction from today's date with the order number and the amount. We can also see that a note has been created in the notes section with the instructions that we entered and also the completion details. Back to the maintenance task. We have a button here to copy this task. If we have to create a number of maintenance tasks that are the same, say you need a tradesperson to fix a number of different hot water services at different properties, once you've created one task, we can click Copy this task and select the property that you wish to copy the task to. Let's say Summer 10 also have a hot water service where the pilot light keeps going out. So we pick the property and the inventory item as a hot water service. Then, when we click Update, the system asks, "Are you sure you want to copy this maintenance task?" And we will click Yes. Then it asks, "Do you want a new auto-generated order number?" And I will say yes. And this means that we will get a new order number rather than the same number we had for the previous task that we were working on. Now, if we go back to the home screen and into the responsive tasks, we can see that the task has been copied with the new property, Summer 10. You may need to tweak this a little bit by adding or removing instructions, but we can save a lot of time by copying the task. If you are organising gutter cleaning for 10 properties, the instructions will be the same, and you can save yourself a lot of time by using the Copy this task button. Let's go back to our maintenance task. And down the bottom here, we have all of our active maintenance tasks for all properties. We can filter this list to show us the maintenance tasks at a particular property by clicking the black funnel icon and selecting the property name from our list. Clicking Clear Filter from Property Name will remove this filter. We could also use a text filter, such as equals property name, and this will show our filtered list. Again, we'll click Clear Filter from Property Name to remove the filter. In the same way, we could filter by maintenance type, tradesperson, show active and inactive jobs, scheduled start dates, completed dates, etc. So let's filter by a property name, and we'll filter this list to the property Pretty Vacant. The reason we have this down here is if we double click on one of these records, we jump straight to that job. These are in order with the most recent job at the top and the oldest at the bottom. We can see this from the order numbers here. If we want to go back to a previous job, we just double click here. So this is handy if you've been given a number of invoices and you want to enter the details such as costs from the invoice into CHINTARO. You may want to filter on a tradesperson name, and here we can see all of the jobs from Men at Work. You could then go through the invoice number and add the amounts that it costs in each record. So that's all this box is here. It's just a smaller version of the property maintenance search screen. Now we'll have a quick look at the maintenance task functions at the top here. So we have the ability to SMS the tradesperson from this button, send the tenant an SMS from this button, make the task a forecast task from this function. Task details will take us to the default view which we're on now. Completion details we've had a look at, and this is where we enter in details such as actual completion date, invoice number, and costs. Add a new task will bring up an empty maintenance task screen. And Update will update the record if you've made any changes. So I mentioned earlier that many organisations only use one general inventory item, and now we'll very quickly go through and see how we do this. So we click on Add Maintenance Task, select the property, and the inventory item has defaulted to General. Maintenance type will be responsive, and none of these other fields are populated, so we would then go in and fill these fields with the relevant information for the request. So in our inventory, we'll most likely only have the major appliances, and for everything else, we would select a general inventory item and fill out these fields with the information relevant to that request. So this is what we would be doing for things like if a door is sticking or the gate isn't locking, and we would put these things under general. The last thing that we'll have a look at with property maintenance is cyclical maintenance. In CHINTARO, this is where the system can create maintenance task jobs automatically. This is different to responsive maintenance tasks, where jobs are created by you to respond to something that is broken. With cyclical maintenance, CHINTARO will automatically create these jobs at previously defined intervals or cycles. So if we want to do gutter cleaning or fire inspections regularly, we want the system to create these for us. This is a bit convoluted, and we'll briefly show you how this works. Basically, we do this by setting up an inventory item for this task. If we go back into the property at Swan 338 and we go into the inventory items, we can see that we have a quarterly gutter clean set up in here. If we double click on this item, we can see that it has most of these fields filled out, but it's not really an inventory item because a gutter clean is not an inventory item. It's a task that needs to be done regularly. So this is where these fields here, maintenance cycle and the first maintenance date field, come into play. So if you set these fields, the maintenance cycle of daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, annually, or whatever, you can set the first maintenance date and the system will create the task automatically. So when it gets within 30 days of that date, the system will create the task, and we have set this to quarterly. It will then create the next cycle in 3 months' time. So this becomes another maintenance task, and if we go back to the home screen and we click on cyclical, these are the other types of maintenance tasks, but these have been created automatically. So if we double click on one of these, we can see here the task that needs to be done. From here, you'll need to send this off to a tradesperson and make sure that they know about this job, but you can track things this way. The one thing that you do need to be careful with in creating cyclical tasks are the date fields. Once you set these up, the system won't ask you to create these, it will just automatically create them. This is all we're going to cover for cyclical tasks. So now we're going to move away from property maintenance and we'll have a look at system maintenance. Some of you won't have the permission to go into system maintenance, but others will, so we'll go through a few things in here. So from the main screen, when we click on system maintenance, the first thing we see in this menu is security. If we click on security, this is where we add users, change passwords, and specify what users can and cannot do. I'm going to be very brief here, and there is a webinar that you can watch on the CHINTARO website if you would like to know more about this. But something that you might want to know if you're the system administrator is how to add a new user. All we do here is click New User, we type in their name, and this is for Sarah. We put the password in twice. And when we click Add, we can see that user Sarah has been added successfully. Basic privileges have been set. Now, if you're not the system administrator, but you have access to security, all you will see is change password. Now that I've added Sarah, we go into user maintenance and we select Sarah from our list. On the right here, we see the user roles and we can see that she has been set at level 1. This is the lowest level for a user, and these roles determine what people can do in the system. You might want your housing workers to only be able to look at property maintenance and certain screens and not be able to change anything. Or you may want your finance team to only be able to generate rent and send transaction to the buffer and enter transactions. So you can control what screens people can use, what buttons they can use, and we're not going to go into detail about this other than to say this is controlled by using the functions at the top here. We can specify what the roles are and which items on the toolbar they can use, and the toolbar is up here. So if we untick these boxes, they won't be able to see these quick links up here. We can control which forms they can use, what buttons people can use on different forms. Maintenance is for different maintenance options for the reference data. And as I said, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this, but this gives you an idea of what you can control in CHINTARO. Back in our system maintenance menu, we've already spoken about reference tables a number of times, and if we click on this, we see this screen. Remember that this is where all of the drop-down lists are kept in CHINTARO. So if we select Alerts Client, we see the alerts that we have active for our clients. We're not going to go through all of these, but what we will have a look at in this list is parameters. The way that the system is controlled is through this screen here, and all of these parameters down here make certain things happen on the screen. We spoke before about the type of email that we use in the maintenance template, and here we can see the trade email ... And when we set the default for the maintenance task to be general, we did it through the maintenance default general section here. We can see here that the order prefix is MDB, and this is where we had the prefix of MDB in the work order. The next order number here is 4021, and this is where a lot of the things in the system are controlled. If we have a look at trade email, and we put in an email address in here, anna@mdb.com.au, every time that we sent a work order as an email, I would get an email copied to me as well. So we could put in another email address in trade email too, and we'll put this as bruce@mdb.com.au. So every time we send that email off to the tradesperson, I'm going to get a copy of it, and Bruce will get a copy of it also. So if you have someone that needs to approve of maintenance requests and wants to see them, we can put those email addresses in here. The next option on our system maintenance menu is Preferences. Preferences is where we can change the way that CHINTARO behaves for all users. Let's have a look and see what this means. So we can set and change the organisation details in this section, and this will change for our home screen and word merges. In the Tenancies and Rent button, we can change preferences such as defaulting the client note box to be ticked, the property note box to be ticked, set all printing from the client or tenancy screen to go immediately to the printer, and so on. Maintenance preferences will allow you to set preferences for the maintenance functions. Finance will allow you to set preferences for the finance functions. SMS is where we configure the parameters that allow us to send SMSs to clients. And reporting, SA, and system functions will not be covered in this session. Current users is where we can see who is currently logged onto the system. You might need to shut the system down to do a backup, and current users is where we can see who is currently logged onto the system. In here, I can see that I am logged in. In your workplace, you might see 4 or 5 other people in here. If you are the system administrator, you can double-click on any of these to try and log them off if they're connected, but use this sparingly. The bulletin update just updates the bulletin board and our home screen here. So if we click on this, we can change this to Welcome to CHINTARO Training and Update, and this will change here, so everyone will see this. You can use this to notify people of anything that's happening within your organisation. Organisation details, check room rate records, update age groups, vacant untenantable rooms, and set up word mergers will not be covered in this session, but will be covered in the e-learning videos on the CHINTARO website. So we're going to leave system maintenance there for the moment, and the next thing we're going to look at is reports and exports. Reports and exports is how we get information out of CHINTARO. Over the course of the training sessions, we've looked at entering a lot of data into the system, but haven't covered much about getting information out. Each organisation will have different reporting requirements, and we'll have a look at some reports now. If we go into the client screen and filter to search all of our clients who live in a particular suburb, North Melbourne for example, we right-click on the suburb and select Equals North Melbourne. From here, we have a few options. The first option is to print the data we've filtered by pressing the print function, and this will send the report to the printer. We could also click Export, which will export the data to an Excel spreadsheet. So most times we want more data than what is in these simple reports. From the home screen, we click on Reports and Exports. We have a number of options in here. The first option here is Reports, and we'll have a look at this one to begin with. If we click on Reports, we see a list of report categories here. We have Clients, Finance, Property and Maintenance, Tenancies, and Waiting List reports. If we select Client Reports, we see a number of reports that are related to clients. Let's say we want to see the report of all clients who are currently housed. We click on the report titled All Clients Currently Housed, and we are able to preview this report by clicking Preview Report here. This is a paper-based report that has all of the clients who are currently housed. We see their names. If they are a primary tenant, it will say primary in the relationship column. It has their address, contact phone number, date of birth, age, and gender. We can close this report and have a look at a few more. So the other things you might want to run a report on is the notes for a specific client. If we click on Client History Notes, we can select a report criteria with the client's name in the box down here. So we will look for Eddie Vedder. We'll also take out the start date because we want to look at all of the notes that we've ever made for Eddie. When we select Preview Report, we can see all of the notes we have made for Eddie over the course of his time with us. So again, this is another paper-based report that you can print or do with it what you will. If we have a look at finance, we can see that there are a lot more reports in finance than there were in clients. One thing that we will have a look at is the accrual charges and rent payments summary. And in this report, we'll see how much we've charged in rent and how much we've gained in rent payments for each particular program and tenancy. Many of the finance reports will have a date range, and we can enter our dates, and we'll look from the 1st of the 3rd, 2015 to the 1st of the 6th, 2015. When we click Preview Report, here is our report. Another report that we might want to use is the Transaction Summary Crosstab report. And when we preview this report, we will see in this report that it shows us how much rent we've charged, how much we've collected, how much went to other debits, and how much we received in other credits, and the total by property. So there are lots of different reports, and you'll find some reports in here that will be beneficial to you. Notice also that when we select different reports, we can have different report criteria down here. Let's have a look at the SA rent charges. And this report has a date field that is defaulting to last month, but we could change this to the 1st of the 1st, 2015. Preview the report. And we get much larger numbers. Many of the finance reports will have a date range, but you could also select a report for a particular program, for example, group housing. Many of our reports have multiple criteria that we can select, such as for a particular property. So if we select the debit/credit totals by date, we can filter this report criteria to only show our property pretty vacant. When we put in a date range and we click Preview, we can see that this is filtered to just the one property. So these criteria down the bottom are for filtering the data to make it relevant for the report that we want to print. So let's have a look at the bank statement. We can select the account as Centrepay, choose the date range from the 1st of the 1st, 2015, for example. And when we preview the report, we see a report that looks just like a bank statement from our bank account, but this has all of our Centrepay transactions in it. There are more types of reports in property and maintenance. For example, we might just want to look at the maintenance report that shows us all of the maintenance on each property for a period of time. In the report criteria, we have a number of different filters that we can use, such as property, maintenance type, item type or tradesperson, but we'll leave these for now. We'll leave the dates as last month. And when we click on Preview Report, we can see each property, what the maintenance type was, the urgency, the scheduled completion date, order number, item name, group, budget, actual cost, comments, and if it's an active or inactive job. So there are a number of reports that you can view in property and maintenance. Tenancies is where we view the various tenancy reports. And we can see here that we have an option to view the rent in arrears report. And this is where we'll see all tenants who are in arrears, and this is broken up by property. So these paper-based reports are useful, and they're designed to be printed out and written on or given to somebody. In this list, we could also view tenancy balances, tenancy transaction by program or type, and many more. The other way of getting information out of CHINTARO, which works pretty much the same way, is through exports. So instead of creating a paper-based report, we're going to create a spreadsheet which will open with the information. For example, let's have a look at all clients currently housed. And this is the report that we showed before. This time when we click it, on the right we get the file name, location, select an output format, and two buttons here. One for export to file, and the other is open in Excel now. File name is what the file is going to be called, and location is where I'm going to save it. So we can click the button with the three dots and choose the file destination. So I'll save this to my desktop. We can leave this default as CSV format, and all versions of Excel will take this format. So we click on the Export button, and we get this message saying that the file has been created. And when we open the file, if we click on the triangle between the numbers and the letters on the left, and then double click here, all of the columns will expand and spread out to show you the data more easily. The first line is the heading. So if you highlight this row and go into Data, you can turn on the data filters, and from here you can use your sorting and filtering on these columns. So let's exit this, and we won't save. Similarly in finance, we might want to see the tenancy transactions by program by property. We can select the date range to be from the 1st of the 1st, 2015. And this time we need to put our own file name in, and we will call this tenancy TXN. We select a location where I'll save to the desktop. And after we do this, we click Export to File. So here we have the tenancy transaction spreadsheet with all of the different transactions for those tenancies. So there are lots of different spreadsheets in here, and there are more exports than reports because generally we get asked for exports more than we get asked for reports. So if we have a look at tenancies, you'll see a much larger list in here for all of the reports that you might like to run. If you choose an export, such as transaction tenancies, and then click Open in Excel now, we can have a look at this data and change it as we want, but we haven't saved it. So if you wanted to save this file, you would have to select to save as, type a file name, choose a destination, or from Excel. If we have a look at the tenancy balances trend last 12 months export, this export shows columns for each of the balances for each tenant, 12 months ago, 11 months ago, 10 months ago, and so on. And you can see as time goes on, what's happening with the balances. We can see who is going to arrears, who is staying the same, who is catching up with their arrears, and who is paid up to date. So you might want to do some analysis on these reports, and this will depend on how familiar you are with Excel and whether you need to do this sort of thing in your organisation. We're not going to go through all of these exports because there are just too many, but this gives you an idea of what is contained within exports. Let's go back to the previous menu. Occupancy calculation calculates the data that is used in various reports. We're not going to cover this in this session. The NAHA, or Data Collection Report, is where we see the NAHA report screen. Depending on your organisation, this may be a report that you're required to provide to a governing body. We try to add as many relevant reports as we can in CHINTARO, and if you do have a statutory report that your organisation is being asked to complete regularly and it's not in CHINTARO, please let us know and we will work with you to get the reports you need in the system. If you're in Victoria, there are a number of reports within the Vic reports that are relevant to you. These include the HPF report, KPM Housing Register report, and the THM report. If you're in South Australia, there are certain reports that are only relevant to you, and these are found within the SA Reports option. When we click this, we get another menu of certain reports, such as the CPG Capital Contributions Report, the CPG Register Update, the CPG Maintenance Plan, and the Input Tax Report. We also have reports that are specific to Queensland CHINTARO users, and if we click on this, we see the reports such as the LTCH report that are relevant to you. So this concludes the CHINTARO start to finish training sessions. If you've missed anything or want to recap on a certain section of the screen without watching this whole video again, please have a look at the e-learning videos on the CHINTARO website www.chintaro.com.au. This is where you'll be able to refresh your memory on each section of the screen. The e-learning videos are up to 15 minutes in length and cover everything I've shown you today. If you have any questions, please contact CHINTARO support for assistance.